Not based on what we've seen so far. He does have the ability, if there's causal reason to fire Jay Powell, to fire Jay Powell. But I think what yesterday's visit made clear is he's nowhere close to satisfying that legal standard. The very fact that we saw him try to trump up an inflated cost estimate based on trying to bring in a third building was in many ways a concession by the president that he really didn't have the case that he needed for removal. So I think right now, Powell and the Fed should feel very good.
All right. So maybe he can't fire Fed Chair Jay Powell, but he can still do some damage, right? By the constant criticism.
He can do damage. He can do damage. And I really, what's hard there is it's damage not just to Powell, it's damage to the Federal Reserve as an institution. And I would actually say a lot of damage has been done and more is likely to still come. I mean, one of the challenges is that right now, the markets really trust Jay Powell, and for a very good reason. He has been an incredible Fed chair. He's been clear about what he's trying to achieve and how he plans to achieve it. And both during President Trump's first term and during this term, when he has faced pressure that he feels like is not warranted given kind of economic conditions, he is focused on serving the long-term aims of, keeping inflation in check while also promoting employment. And so the real challenge that the president is creating is he's creating an environment where it's going to be very hard for the next Fed chair to come in and build up that same type of credibility.
Yeah, talk a little bit about that and the potential response. And I know you focus on this from the law perspective, but what would that mean if the Fed chair doesn't necessarily have credibility, the next Fed chair?
It could mean a lot of different things. I mean, so first, one of the challenges is that the president wants lower rates. A Fed chair can't necessarily deliver lower rates. A Fed chair is one vote of 12 votes on the Federal Open Market Committee, the FOMC, that determines monetary policy. So one of the first challenges that a new Fed chair is going to face is how to get 7 votes, how to get the support that he needs in order to drive through the agenda that it seems like the president clearly wants to see. Longer term, the challenge is not just to the president, but to the country. I mean, at this point, we have an incredible deficit. One of the easiest ways for any country to reduce the effective burden of its deficit is just to inflate it away. And so our creditors are going to be looking very carefully at whether or not we're willing to maintain a central bank that has the independence needed to be able to assure creditors that we're not going to try to use that technique. And I think without that credibility, there's going to be significant costs in terms of financing.
Professor Judge, one last question. We are next talking with Rob Kaplan. He's former president of the Dallas Fed. Curious what you might ask him when it comes to Jay Powell and that presidential pressure and anything else related to the Fed.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I think Kaplan's a wonderful person to talk to because the reserve banks are an underappreciated element of how the Fed has stayed independent. I mean, if you actually go back to the 1935 Act, a lot of the question was how much power are we going to give to the board in the centralized position? How much presidential influences are going to be over the board? And how much are we actually going to reduce the capacity of any administration to shape policy by putting meaningful authority in the hands of the 12 reserve banks across the country, which again have 5 of the 12 seats on the FOMC. So I think one of the things to really focus on with Kaplan and that we should be looking at generally is when are the threats going beyond the chair? Because we've seen tussles between presidents and chairs in the past. And when might the president take steps that really endanger or threaten the broader institution, including the reserve banks?